with her EE, she wants to attack increase with HP loss, right? While continuously as the rounds go on, she wants to actually burst spam her skill 1, similar to what Tio does, but she wants to burst spam it at max value. What is up guys, Major here. Today we're going to be looking at the new character that just dropped, Sterope, or Sterope. I don't know how you're gonna say that. I mean, I saw the video, but it is what it is. If you saw the title of the video, it's a little bit controversial. She's I don't think she's the easiest character to build. I don't think she's horrible, but I also don't think that a brand new player needs her right away, right? If you can get a single copy, that's gonna be fantastic. However, I'm gonna say this at the start just to get it out the way so you don't feel like I clickbaited you. But the way I would sort of think about this character is just from a baseline standpoint, she is okay. She's going to struggle a lot. She's very high investment, and she's not necessarily worth it for a new player or a player who has a very limited roster. She's very niche. She can be very good, but to build her is a pain in the ass. And even myself, I understand it theoretically, but to be honest with you, I'm still waiting for somebody to come up with a miraculous build, but I kind of understand what she wants to do. For now, she won't be the greatest character in the world. So how I would suggest you do it is, if you don't have a Leo early on, probably summon for Leo. Use your ether to go in on the Leo banner, possibly get a copy. If you do, fantastic, you have an awesome luck, and you can just get into the mileage recruit and grab yourself a copy of Sterope. Right, I wouldn't suggest using your ether on her. Use your tickets if you want to, that's okay, that's perfectly fine. But if you have mileage already up to the 200, just pick up with the mileage. I feel like she's worth it for the mileage pickup. I just don't feel like she's worth it for ether summoning. Right now, here's the other crazy part. She does need 6 stars, which means that some people would be tempted to try to go in deep to get the 6 stars. Well, really not 6 stars, she needs 5 stars, but you know, once you get 5 stars, you may as well get 6. But right, don't do that. Don't go deep. Don't try to overdo it. She looks cool, she's awesome and everything, but no, come on, relax. All right, we're gonna go quickly through the skills. We won't read them in depth too much. We're gonna be understanding what she does, not necessarily learning how to read here. So her first skill is her burst ability, and what this does is basically a single enemy attack, and then if she's buffed, what it's going to do here is it's going to grant all allies a buff, which is a damage increase of a max of 60%. As you can tell here, the burst ability of it here has 5 stacks of divine retribution, which is effectively a single stack is 4% of a damage increase, which means this burst ability at 120 points here, at 120 AP points or action points here, will give you 20% damage increase. Right, so definitely the way she works is she definitely wants to use the maximum burst at all given time. So you're going to need her 5 stars. This is a must, otherwise you lose out on the damage increase. Right, this is why I say she's high investment at the beginning of the video. Now that's done, that's all we really need to, that's the main part of this. It gives her speed as well, but that's neither here nor there. Now let's look at the second skill. Actually, let's go ahead and look at the animation for this. Additional attack because she's buffed. Phenomenal. Dope. Okay, that was awesome. Now we get to the second skill. This is very situational. This is very niche. This is the part of the kit that could use a little bit of a rework, in my opinion, just to make it a little bit more versatile. But what this does effectively is she provides a healing and buff turn reduction. That's it. Don't overthink it. There's some constraints to it though, which niches it down by having it only turn reduce, counter attacks, revenge, and agile. Right, that's all it does. Revenge is only for the Stellars, Agile it's for the TO, counterattacks can be various units, even future units. We're not sure who else is going to get Revenge or Agile Response, we'll have to see as time unlocks, but for now it's only those 3 units. Counterattacks can be damn near anybody, depending on how you build them and the counter set, all those things, right? Nothing to be said about this. It's a good skill. It's one of the, I don't think it's the most important skill to level up on her, but she definitely wants it, right? She needs this at +5, so she gets the 400% chance to reduce, and again, more high investment, really annoying. And then you have her S3, which is team accuracy and effectiveness buff, and a single ally cooldown reduction. The recommendations, well, not the recommendations, but the requirements for the single ally cooldown reductions for 2 turns is it's only going to happen to 1 ally who has the highest attack in your team. So team building is going to be extremely important with her, and yeah, basically that's going to be it. Let's go ahead and look at the ability. Oh no, sorry, this is the one. Fantastic skill, and as you can see, you got everything there, and she did the cooldown reduction on herself. Wouldn't really matter here too much because again, it doesn't really show the cooldowns like that. Okay, cool. Now that we have that, her chain passive, just to touch on it quickly, I don't do PvE too much, so I don't really care about that. However, she will be good for the ecology stages that they do release later on down the line, and because of her PvE skill, which reduces all allies cooldown reductions, I think it's by 1 turn if I'm not mistaken. We could read that after as well, so that's going to be fantastic for bosses and things like that, and also for the long game with the increase in damage. So she's going to be fantastic for PvE, but right now we focused on how viable she is for PvP. But for PvE, she's going to be fantastic, no questions about that. Exclusive equipment here, we can touch on that just now. Let's go ahead and pop out of here quickly. Her exclusive equipment is increases attack proportional to missing health. Now, this is going to be important. I won't touch on it now, but this is technically a must-have once you get your Sterope to 5 stars and you've built her correctly and all of those. You can't go without this. You have to have this, otherwise you're just not going to unlock her damage. We'll get into that in a second. As you guys know, Sterope is a Dark Defender class, which means that she actually generates 5 action points at the start of her turn. So at the start of turn, right? And then she generates 35 action points when hit, right? And increases defense by 15% again when she's also hit. This means that on a talisman, on her talismans, you want to pair her up with a 6-star Vanguard talisman, which will give you 50 action points. Right, because this is just a 4-star, obviously, that's why it's 25, but a 6-star Vanguard talisman will give you 50 action points. When she gets hit by an AoE, that's going to give you 110 AP after just 1 AoE hit. And if you add the 5 AP that she gets at the start of turn, she has 115 AP at the start of her actual taking action if she only gets hit once with an AoE attack, which means that this skill, as we mentioned on the burst here, where she only needs 120 action points on her burst to actually use the max skill, which is why you're going to need her 3 stars, because potentially you may be able to burst skill on level or on her first turn and get the 20% damage increase. However, I'm not sure that's what she wants to do from a character identity standpoint. I don't think that's what her goal is. I'll get into what I think her goal is as we touch on these a little bit later. But right now we've noticed that she needs a 6-star Vanguard. I mean, you could probably get away with a 5-star, but I mean, you kind of need the Vanguard talisman there. You're going to need her at about 5 stars, but once you're at 5 stars, you may as well get a 6 stars, right? So she's quite high investment. And then because her base stats, now we can get into a little bit of her base stats. So her base stats are actually Veronica's base stats, right? She has very similar base stats. Actually, it's the same base stats as Veronica, where they have medium health, basically average health, high attack, and basically high defense for a tank, right? So obviously strikers will have higher attack, but for a tank, 921 is fairly high from what we're talking about from a health perspective. 676 is fairly high for defense, right? The only person who has a higher defense is what? Maybe I can think of Mene, who's a support, but for tanks this is high. Now, it's all well and dandy. We know what she does. We know what we want to pair up with her. Remember, I'm not going into the equipment necessarily because I don't think the equipment or the gear is as important at the moment because there's going to be a variety of ways to build her. But for now, what we really need to understand is what does she do, or rather, what does she want to do? So passively, she wants to get hit with an AoE to generate action points, and then also she wants to passively reduce the enemy's buff durations and healing percentages, right? And then on her turn 1, she wants to increase her team's accuracy and effectiveness, right? While also resetting the main damage dealer's cooldowns for a second wave of damage. That's what she wants to do. She wants the main damage dealer to attack, and then when she comes in, she wants to give them accuracy and effectiveness, and then reset the main damage dealer's cooldowns by 2 turns, or rather reduce the cooldowns of the main damage dealer by 2 turns, right? So that's what she really wants to do. So she's going to be paired up with damage dealers who deal a massive amount of damage through their passive as well as their skills before she goes, and she can reset the passive cooldown as well as the skill cooldown, so at least by 2 turns. I say reset, but it's actually turn reduction, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. It's a 2-turn cooldown reduction effectively. And then on her turn 2, she generally wants to use a max burst skill 1 for a 20% permanent damage boost to all allies. That's what she wants to do. She wants to do this on turn 2. And the reason this is the case is because when you look at her skills and how she works in general, right, she doesn't actually want to boost the damage early on because she's a very slow unit. We're literally talking about a 104 speed unit. You would have to build her like Leo with very, very fast speed so that she goes before your damage dealers, and that's going to be sacrificing a lot, specifically because of her EE that we mentioned, where she increases attack based on missing health. This means that this character wants high HP. With her EE, she wants to attack increase with HP loss, right? While continuously as the rounds go on, she wants to actually burst spam her skill 1, similar to what Tio does, but she wants to burst spam it at max value, which means she's burst spamming it at 120 action points turn for turn. So pairing her up with Vanguard is going to be extremely powerful, right? Because this is the only way you'll be able to do this, by the way. And you want to do it from turn 2 onwards so that you always have that 120 burst ability available for turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4. Then you get your maximum 60% damage boost on her skill 1, and that's it. And then from that point on, her skill 1 should be able to deal heavy damage to single enemy tank or support evasion units late game. That's what she wants to do. That is her end goal. She wants to kill evasion units, while she herself providing some evasion for her team, because her subclass is Sweeper. And how you know that, by the way, is just this little subclass here. This is the class, and then this is the subclass, and Sweeper subclasses provide evasion on their skills, right? So she provided a little bit of evasion, the same as Veronica, and that's basically what she wants to do and her character identity. So you have to sort of build around that. You have to understand what you want her to do and build her accordingly. Now, there's a couple of things that you can work towards from a strength side, right? She's very good, like her kit wise, she's almost the perfect support for characters like Notia, Stella. I'm talking about the regular Stella here. She sort of soft supports Domiak Stella, kind of, but really supports normal Stella, your Notias. These are characters who have passives that trigger with what? Debuff. So versus debuff teams, right, to do AoE damage, she's going to be an invaluable asset. However, she's only an invaluable asset to characters like Naughtia or Stella. That's where you're going to be seeing the most value out of them, right? So if you get to a situation where you have more characters who have these passives and they can actually attack characters outside of their own turns, and when their own turns come, they do another skill, maybe their S3 or something, and then Sterope can then reset both skills, both the both the cooldown on the passives and the cooldown on the skills themselves. That's maximum value. That's where she's going to shine the most. She can be used to soft counter healers a little bit, but not really, because 50% reduction in heals, while it's effective, it's not fantastic, and that's only happening on the first 3 turns of battle, right? After the first 3 turns, the healing reduction is damn near useless because it disappears. It's gone now, right? So it's a very, very soft counter, very useless, to be honest, and it's a very soft counter to what she's basically here to do. If I were to sum it up in one word, she's an anti-cleave unit specifically designed to support Naughtia as well as defend versus characters that enable Naughtia, which is a really weird situation to be in as a character, right? Her weaknesses is she's very niche. On her weaknesses is that, first of all, one of her weaknesses is that she's very high investment, because you need level 5s for all of them, right? Level 5s for every single skill here. Even this skill here, you might need it. You're going to need this level 5 just to play PvE. So you need all these skills maxed, and you don't need this one. You just need level 2 for here, and then you're fine. You don't have to do this one, right? But you may want to get this one though, right? But for PvP, you can just stop at around level 4. Pretty much you're golden here, because you will need this if you are playing PvP with the exclusive equipment and all of those good stuff. Now, her weaknesses. She is niched down to high heaven to revenge and agile response units. Counter itself, she's a soft counter to she's a soft counter to counter. Well, that's just how we're gonna put it, right? While and that's her most versatile stat, but counter itself is very RNG based in the first place. It's very, very few units who have a high rate of countering. That's the problem, right? So we find ourselves in a situation where she does very little. She does very little when it comes to direct counters, but her direct counters would be something along these lines, right? She will directly counter Hanbuli, specifically the character that Hanbuli gives the counter attack to. In most cases, that's Domiak Stella, right? That's the direct counter to Hanbuli's buff, while also decreasing the buff duration so that characters can't maintain a max evasion buff or like a counter buff for too many turns, right? So she's a direct counter to things like that. She's a direct counter to Idlith, who has a high counter rate, right? So, and if she's using buffs to increase her damage, but we're not seeing Edith too much in the arena mode. And then she's a soft counter to Tio, Domiak Stella, and actual Stella. Now, you may be like, wait, what? Wasn't she designed to counter Tio? You would think so. But you have to understand that while these characters benefit from buffs, they don't need them. Tio doesn't need buffs at all. Domiak Stella benefits from buffs, but she doesn't need buffs at all. Stella benefits from buffs, but she doesn't need buffs at all. As a matter of fact, Stella can steal buffs, and she still doesn't need the buffs that she steals. Her damage scales off of how much speed she has. Stella just needs to be super fast. Domiak Stella needs absolutely nothing from a buff standpoint. You may feel like she does, but she honestly doesn't need anything, because she requires such a high build and such high stats that she doesn't need any buffs whatsoever to do what she does, because her main stat is being a bruiser, being alive, doing a lot of damage, and continuing to do it. She's not supposed to be a cleaver. So the damage aspect that we're talking about are people who are trying to build cleave Domiak Stella. High damage, high buff, no. If she's bruisery and she does a lot of damage and she's there being annoying, hard to kill, and she keeps doing damage every single time, she can revenge all she wants and Sterope won't be able to do anything about that, and the 3 turns she will cycle out of those 3 turns and her passive is gone entirely, because again her passive only lasts for 3 turns, and once you've cycled out of those 3 turns, it's gone. And the whole point of that is that she's slowing characters down for the first 3 turns while she ramps up, because on the 4th turn she gets that maximum 60% damage boost, or you can do it on the 3rd turn where she gets the maximum 60% damage boost, but then it might be a little bit more difficult because now you need the highest level of your talismans and all of that so that you can skill 1 from round 1. But yeah, so that's basically the main issue there. And then beyond that, so if let's summarize quickly before we start losing each other here in translation. Let's do a quick summary. Right, first of all, so, her weaknesses include she has a lot of strengths, she's very niche, and she's very good when she has high investment. At least I believe she could be. Right, there's a lot of potential in her kit, to the point where I believe getting a single copy through mileage is fantastic so that you can farm her through the side story. Let's just double check if she has a side story, by the way, before I make that absolute judgment call. Let's double check. Yes, she does have a side story. Wait, does she have a side story? Is that her? A trip back home. Yes, that is her. That is her. So this is her, and she has a side story. So yes, rest easy. She has a side story. It's going to be okay. Right? Get a copy of her, build her up, get it up to 5 stars minimum. You don't have to do the 6 stars immediately. The value you're going to get out of the 6 stars is very small. The 5 stars, you're going to get amazing value. Build her up slowly, just in the background. You're going to be fine. She'll be used in RTA later down the line. She's going to be one of the units that are picked there for PvP. For now, 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever, you just use it for PvE. If you have enough gear and you've built her really nicely, and once you have it about 4 or 5 stars or so, 5 stars, she'll be fantastic for PvP. Below 5 stars, she's going to be subpar, so you're not going to see too many of her, and if you do, she's going to be a easy win, basically. Or if you are losing to her, you're not losing to her, you're losing to all the other characters around her, right? And what do we have? She has she's okay, we said she's very high investment, and then she has very high HP, which means that ideally theory crafting here, you may want to use HP set or maybe HP accessories like necklaces, things like that, just just to get her HP as high as humanly possible. She may be one of the characters who may break the 20,000 HP threshold, right? And you may want to go as high as you can with the 20k HP plus, with the EE as well. So she's definitely a build for that route. She's very late game, and you can also tell she's very late game because of how long she wants the rounds to last. She wants the team to have a lot of damage mitigation. You can't run her versus while you're still being bombarded by cleaves. It's just not going to be a fun time. You need her EE. It's unfortunate, but her EE is mandatory. Her EE is absolutely mandatory. You cannot play her. Her damage is legitimately locked behind her EE, and it's locked behind the fact that she needs a lot of HP. And again, which is why I'm pointing back to the HP sets and accessories. And then you're also going to need very, very decent crit and crit damage. And you may be like, wait, what? Yeah, you're going to need at least around your 50% plus crit chance, around possibly 200 crit damage, right? You're going to need very, very decent. And mind you, if you can have crit chance boost and crit damage boost after round 3, perfect, right? Right, so that's going to be perfect. If you can't, it is what it is. But she's very, very stat hungry. She needs a lot to be good. She's very late game. The reason she's not recommended for new players or players who are not interested in PvP or PvE, once we get the ecology stage, she's going to be invaluable in one of the, I think it's the dark raids or the light. No, she'll be invaluable in the light raids. But if you don't have a big enough roster, in any case, we don't even have the ecology stages. That's the other thing you need to remember. right? We still don't have them. We may get them at some point towards the end of this month, maybe next month, but we don't have the other stages at the moment. So getting her for potential future stages versus getting characters for stages you can clear now is probably what you should prioritize, in my opinion, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Again, high investment, but she's awesome. She looks really cool. You know, she has an awesome personality. Everything is awesome about this character. I would pull a copy, slowly build her up in the background until you get her to 6 stars, 5 stars, whatever you want. 5 stars minimum, 6 stars if you really, really love the character and you really want to use them. And farm her gear slowly but surely. When the new ecologies come out, get her right. She's not going to do well on counter set. You may think she will, she won't. But you could do some kind of variation of counter set, HP, like 2 counter, 2 HP. And then you could do 2 counter, 2 HP, and then HP, what's this thing, necklace as well, just to get an HP skyrocketing. And then hopefully you get enough stat variations in that to get her right. That could work as well. But a lot of us aren't farming the HP dungeons. A lot of us don't have HP necklaces. Very few of us actually have the gear that would be necessary to build her. So just take your time. Alright, that's it from me. Tell me what you guys think about the character down below. If I missed anything, and I could have, I'm only human by the way, I could have missed something, let me know down below in the comments, and let's see how everybody's feeling. If you guys found some broken builds, let me know. I want to know. Put a link down there. I don't care. Or send me to the channel or whatever the case is, the Discord, and I will look at the builds. I will check them out, see how they're going. But yes, that's it from me. Peace out.